Director Hayes, we have the perimeter secured. What are your orders? The words cut through the ballroom like a scalpel through silk. I didn't flinch. I couldn't. Captain Torres stood at the centre of the room, tactical gear, spotless, jaw set, her voice low but absolute. Her team fanned out behind her, armed, calm, terrifying. No panic, just precision. I felt 50 pairs of eyes turn toward me. The air thickened. Time didn't slow. It collapsed. My mother's champagne glass slipped from her fingers and shattered against the marble. The sound rang out like a gunshot in a cathedral. Marcus froze mid-toast. My sister Emma let out a sound that was neither a gasp nor a word. A breath broken halfway. No one spoke. No one moved. I stood there in a navy blue dress and heels, a clutch still in my hand. The same Riley they thought they knew. The dropout. The disappointment. The family ghost. And yet, Captain Torres had just called me director. Not miss, not ma'am, not Riley. Director Hayes. I didn't look at anyone right away. Not my mother, still pale. Not Marcus, whose mouth now hung open. Not Vaughn, the man in the far corner already retreating toward the exit. Because this wasn't for them. This was mine. But to understand how we got here, to this ballroom, to this silence, to this moment where names shattered legacies, you need to know the full story. Let me take you back. I used to think I was born to be extraordinary. Firstborn, straight-A student, captain of the debate team, early acceptance into Columbia law. In the Chen family, those things weren't celebrated. They were expected, especially from me. My father was a quiet disciplinarian, a former Navy logistics officer who could convey an entire lecture with one raised eyebrow. My mother, precision incarnate. She ran our household like a high-end boutique, tasteful, efficient, no tolerance for emotional clutter. Our family photos were perfectly staged, our smiles practiced. Marcus was the golden boy, always charming, effortlessly likeable. Emma, the youngest, was the free spirit who could get away with anything as long as she posted about it with enough hashtags. But me, I was the blueprint, the benchmark. I wasn't allowed to experiment. I was expected to excel. And then I dropped out of law school. They say it was sudden, that I cracked under pressure, that I lost my way. No one asked why. No one asked if I was okay. The assumption was too easy, too satisfying. The perfect daughter who couldn't handle the real world. I let them believe it. Because the truth required silence. My departure wasn't failure, it was recruitment. My second year, I was approached by a division I didn't know existed. A name without a name. They didn't send brochures. They sent a former intelligence officer in a rain-soaked trench coat who knew the name of my high school valedictorian speech and the exact contents of my freshman dorm drawer. "We're looking for people who can disappear," he said, "without dying." He gave me 24 hours. I said yes in 23. I signed a paper that erased Riley Chen from every academic record, every public archive. My story stopped. A new one began. But to my family, I had simply failed. And that's how it had to stay. The first time I came home after dropping out, my father didn't say a word. He stood in the foyer, arms crossed, eyes scanning me like a half-written report. My mother set down a glass too hard and muttered, "So this is what wasted potential looks like." I didn't argue. I unpacked quietly, slept in the basement, and never corrected them when they called my choices impulsive, immature, selfish. It was safer that way. Over the years, the distance grew thick. Phone calls turned into forwarded voicemails. Texts became logistical. "Are you coming for Thanksgiving? Emma's birthday is next weekend. RSVP by Wednesday." I became a checkbox, a technicality. They still sent my name on holiday cards, but only because Photoshop could crop me out later. Once, during a Christmas dinner, Marcus made a toast about overcoming expectations. He smiled in my direction and said, "Some of us fly, some of us just float." The table laughed. I laughed too, quietly. I was trained to sit through torture without flinching. Family was just more creative about it. But I kept showing up. because sometimes showing up is the only form of rebellion left. They never knew what I was doing, where I was, who I'd become. They didn't know that while they toasted Marcus's first job offer, I was halfway across the world intercepting satellite codes. While Emma was live streaming brunch, I was dodging a drone strike in northern Yemen. While my mother posted curated family photos, I was being debriefed in an underground facility with no name, beneath a city that didn't officially exist. And still, I kept the lie alive. Because the alternative, telling them the truth, was too dangerous, not just for them, for the people I worked with, for the people I saved. My job required I disappear. But what no one told me was how it would feel to watch the people who loved me act like I never existed. 3 years ago, I almost died in a shipping container off the coast of Morocco. We were tracking a weapons dealer who had ties to rogue intelligence networks. The extraction was supposed to be clean. It wasn't. The container sealed behind me, airtight, soundproof. My team lost my signal for 6 hours. I had 20 minutes of oxygen left when they found me. The medic said my vitals were flatlining. I told him to take better notes. After that, I didn't go home for a long time. I didn't want to see my mother's eyes skim past me like I was part of the furniture. Didn't want Marcus asking me if I'd found myself yet, as if I were a misfiled document in my own life. I didn't want Emma live streaming my awkward silences for clicks, so I vanished again, briefed, deployed, burned another alias, rebuilt another one. In some parts of the world, I was a ghost story agents whispered about. In others, I was just a file with no photo. Either way, I was good at being nobody, and yet... Even ghosts have people they haunt. A month ago, during surveillance on a data breach, I caught a trace of something I hadn't seen in over a decade. Marcus Vaughn. He was listed as dead, except he wasn't. He was resurfacing, and he was looking for someone. The file was encrypted with a pattern I'd helped design. It was personal. That's when I knew. He wasn't just coming for me. He was coming through them, my family, my blind spot, the ones who didn't know who I was, who never had, because I'd built my entire existence on the belief that they were safer in the dark. But darkness has a price, and I was about to pay it. The envelope arrived without a return address. Inside was a heavy ivory card with gold trim, elegant, expensive. A formal invitation to Marcus Chen's promotion ceremony hosted at the Asheville Grand Hotel. Black tie, open bar, attendance expected. There was a handwritten note at the bottom in my mother's delicate script. If you can make it, but please don't wear anything strange. I laughed out loud, bitter and breathless. It was always like that, an invitation wrapped in insult, like asking the wind to behave itself. Still, I stared at the card longer than I should have. I wasn't planning on going. I deleted every family group chat, silenced every birthday reminder, memorized the shape of absence like it was my native tongue. Then the email came. An anonymous burner account, whispertruth47, protonmail.com, subject line, the price of silence. Attached was a file, heavily encrypted but familiar. The encryption signature, chaotic ASIM 7.3, was one I'd developed myself in 2019 during Operation Vanguard. The same operation that blew my original cover, buried my legal name, and sent me into permanent deep status. No one should have had access to that. I opened it in an air-gapped laptop, breath slowing as I decrypted each layer. Inside, fragments of a mission log, surveillance photos, and one chilling image. Emma, sitting in a cafe, her laptop open, my face reflecting dimly in the screen behind her. I hadn't been in that city. I hadn't been near Emma in months. Someone was using her, tracking her, sending a message to me through her. I called Sarah Knox immediately. "He's resurfaced," I said before she could speak. "Vaughn, he's in play." A pause. "Where?" "Don't know yet, but he's baiting me, through my family, through Emma." Knox swore under her breath. "You need to come in." "I can't, not yet. If I vanish now, he'll go for her." Another pause. "What's your move?" I looked again at the invitation. Asheville, Grand Hotel. A room full of powerful people, egos, cameras and exits. "I'm going to the party," I said. Knox didn't argue. She knew me too well. "Send coordinates once you're in," she said. "We'll have eyes on standby." I hung up, closed the laptop, and packed light. Dress, weapon, burner phone. Not because I wanted to celebrate Marcus, because this time the ghost had to walk through the front door. The Asheville Grand Hotel hadn't changed much. Still all gilded ceilings and crystal chandeliers, still pretending to be European in the middle of North Carolina. The kind of place where every hallway smelled like old money and vanilla disappointment. I arrived early. Not out of sentiment, out of strategy. I needed to scan the room, map exits, test security. The ballroom was already half prepped, round tables with white linen, waitstaff folding napkins like origami swans, a live jazz trio tuning their instruments. And then I saw it. Near the main entrance, a massive photo display on easels. Marcus through the years, Marcus graduating, Marcus on a yacht, Marcus with a senator. One picture caught my eye, a Christmas photo from 15 years ago. I was in that one too. Or at least I had been. Now I was cropped out, literally. Just a sliver of my shoulder remained, blurred at the edge like a ghost caught in the wrong frame. "Don't linger there too long," a voice said behind me. My mother, impeccable in navy silk, pearls perfectly symmetrical. "We had to make adjustments. Optics." "Of course," I said evenly. "God forbid anyone see your biggest mistake." She didn't flinch, just adjusted her bracelet and walked away. Inside the ballroom, my father was already nursing a whiskey. He gave me the same look he'd given me at 17 when I missed a debate semi-final. Calm disappointment, with a hint of logistical regret. "I thought you were in Nepal?" he asked, as if reading off a menu of spiritual failures. "Thailand, last year." "Ah," no follow-up. Emma appeared next, phone in hand, already live-streaming with a ring light clipped to her clutch. "And here's the mysterious sister," she chirped to her followers, "straight from the Himalayas or wherever she vanished to this time." "Nice to see you too," I muttered. She grinned and whispered, "Relax, you're a great side character." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I had once disarmed a car bomb with a tremor in my hand, and still, somehow, this felt harder. Marcus was holding court in the centre of the room, glowing with confidence. He spotted me and raised his glass. "Look who made it! I thought we lost you to ayahuasca retreats and goat yoga." Laughter rippled around him. I smiled, the kind that hurt your teeth, because in this family I wasn't just invisible, I was a punchline. The place card at my assigned table read Ms. R. Chen, alternate seating, near the kitchen doors, of course. 2 chairs away from the floral arrangements and 3 feet from where waitstaff huddled to check their watches and whisper complaints. Marcus, of course, sat at the centre table with the mayor, a local congresswoman, and someone from a think tank that probably funded drone strikes with a smile. Emma had prime position too, live streaming herself next to her fiancé, who looked every bit the Ivy League clone my parents had always imagined for me. I pulled my shoulders back, smiled at the waiter, and pretended like being seated next to the bar trays was intentional. Strategic, tactical. "Apologies," the event planner said, leaning toward me. "There was some confusion. We weren't sure if you were still involved with the family." Involved? Like I was a project they'd paused but hadn't officially shut down. From across the room, my mother met my eyes briefly, then turned to refill someone's champagne. I watched her fuss over Marcus's tie, straighten Emma's dress strap. But when her eyes passed over me, they didn't stop. That's when the music faded, and Marcus tapped his glass with a spoon. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, smiling like a man who'd never been told no. "Tonight's not just about me, though, let's be honest, I am the youngest VP in the firm's history." Laughter. He continued, "It's about family, about support, about those who lift us, push us, shape us, My parents, who showed me what discipline looks like. My sister Emma, who taught me how to use TikTok. Louder laughter. He turned toward me. And my other sister, Riley, who, well, is apparently here, probably taking pictures of the shrimp cocktail for her travel blog. The room erupted. I didn't move, didn't blink, just smiled and took a sip of my drink, counting how many people looked away after laughing. All of them. Emma caught my eye, lips pressing into a wince. Then she looked back down at her phone. I had dodged sniper fire, escaped ambushes in the Hindu Kush, talked arms dealers into betraying warlords, but nothing, not one mission, ever prepared me for being erased while sitting in plain view. I wasn't just unwelcome, I was unclaimed. I spotted him by the service entrance, dark suit, earpiece, hands folded in front of him like any professional hotel security. He wasn't looking at anyone in particular, which was exactly how you spot someone trained to watch everything. Still, it took a second. The beard was new, the weight gain believable. But the posture, that slight forward lean, like he was always ready to pivot, hadn't changed. Marcus Vaughn, dead on paper, exiled from memory, very much alive. My breath caught, not from fear, from recognition. Vaughn wasn't just a former superior, he was the first person to train me inside. He once called me a weapon with a conscience, said it like it was a compliment. He was also the reason Operation Vanguard almost failed. He sold intel. 3 agents died. I buried one of them. And now, here he was, smiling as he leaned slightly into his radio, pretending to listen. But I knew better. He'd seen me. That smile wasn't polite. It was personal. I stood slowly, weaving through the tables, careful not to draw attention. I passed my mother chatting with the congresswoman, Emma laughing into her phone, Marcus posing for a photo, completely oblivious to the man who could get all of them killed in seconds. Outside the ballroom, I found a hallway and pressed my comms button 3 times. Long, short, long. Backup request. Silent. Federal level protocol. A voice clicked in. Knox, go. He's here, I whispered. Vaughn, ballroom perimeter, dressed as hotel security. Copy? Are you compromised? Not yet, but he made me. This is personal. Another pause. We've got a team a block out. Give us 10. Make it 7, I said, already turning back toward the ballroom. Because Vaughn wouldn't wait. He never waited. He moved when you blinked. And right now, my entire family was blinking. Back at my table, no one had noticed I was gone. Of course not. To them, I was background, blurred, cropped. But to Vaughn, I was the whole damn picture. Emma was at the dessert table when I found her, phone in one hand, glass of rosé in the other. She was scrolling, smiling, probably drafting another post about the power of positive energy and almond flour. Hey, I said, voice light. Can we talk? She blinked. Okay, what's up? Privately? She looked confused but followed me toward a side corridor near the coat room. The hallway was empty, dimly lit, perfect for secrets. I held up my hand before she could ask anything. Did anyone send you a file recently? Like an anonymous tip? Anything encrypted? Her face twisted. What? No. Well, maybe. I got some weird email last week. From Whisper something? My stomach dropped. Whisper Truth 47? She nodded. Yeah. How'd you know? What was in it? Didn't open it, she shrugged. Too many fire emojis in the subject line. I forwarded it to myself on another drive just in case it was something juicy. I was going to use it for that freelance piece, Unsung Female Heroes in Law Enforcement. You still have it? In my laptop upstairs? Why? I closed my eyes briefly. Damn it. Emma was already reaching into her clutch. Wait, I think I screenshotted the header. She pulled up her photos and turned the screen toward me. The preview was unmistakable. The agency seal, blacked out redactions, my old handler's call sign. But worse, Vaughn's digital fingerprint, embedded in the hash string at the bottom. He wasn't just baiting me. He was using Emma to do it. I forced my voice calm. Emma, that file is classified, as in prison time if you publish. Her eyes widened. Wait, what? Are you serious? Why would someone send me that? I met her gaze. Because they wanted me to see it. She took a step back. Riley, what's going on? Before I could answer, a soft beep came through my earpiece. Knox. Team in position, standing by. I didn't look away from my sister. It's not safe here, I said. Not for you, not for anyone. Emma stared at me, lips parting. Who are you? For the first time in years, I almost told her. Almost. But then the ballroom doors opened again behind us, and a new round of applause echoed out. Marcus was about to make his official speech, and Vaughn would be ready. Stay here, I told her, turning back toward the sound. She grabbed my wrist. Riley, are we in danger? I didn't answer. Some truths are louder in silence. The ballroom was dimmer now. Stage lights adjusted for Marcus's moment. A string quartet had replaced the jazz trio. The crowd gathered near the podium as my brother adjusted his cufflinks and tapped the microphone. I moved toward the back wall, phone in hand, pressing a silent code into the screen. A rapid sequence of numbers Knox would recognize, requesting green light. Extraction Plan B. Across the room, Vaughn was repositioning, drifting closer to a cluster of catering staff, his body angled just enough to keep the exit in view. His hand brushed his side, probably the weapon he wasn't supposed to be carrying. I didn't blink. Knox's voice came through my earpiece. Authorization confirmed. Team is entering from loading dock. ETA 90 seconds. Copy, I said under my breath. I scanned the crowd. My mother stood near the front, arms crossed, unreadable. My father flanked Marcus, chin raised. Emma hadn't returned to the ballroom, thank God. And then Marcus began. Good evening, friends, family, distinguished guests, he beamed. Tonight isn't just a celebration of professional achievement. It's a testament to what family means, to loyalty, to being seen for who you really are. I felt that one landed like a slap. He continued, my parents have always stood by me. Emma's taught me resilience in heels, and even my sister Riley, she's taught me the importance of forging your own path. A few chuckles. And maybe the limits of Wi-Fi in the Himalayas. Laughter again, but it faded faster this time, because a new sound entered the room. Boots, heavy, precise. The back doors burst open. Angela Torres led the way, black tactical gear, badge on her chest, firearm low but visible. Her team fanned out fast and silent. No shouting, no chaos, just presence. The air shifted. Conversations died mid-sentence. Glasses stilled in mid-air. Marcus froze, blinking as his smile faltered. I stepped forward. Torres's eyes locked onto mine. She walked straight through the guests, ignoring the murmurs, the sharp inhales, the camera phones already rising. And then, in a voice that sliced through the stunned hush, she said, Director Hayes, we have the perimeter secured. What are your orders? Time stopped. Every head turned. My mother's hand trembled. Her wineglass slipped. The marble floor caught it. Shatter. Echo. And for the first time in years, I let them see me. Not the failure, not the ghost, but the one they never suspected, the one built for this. The silence was alive, thick, almost tangible. Every breath, every blink, every shuffled footfall in the room was soaked in one unspoken question. Director Hayes, my name, no, my title, hung in the air like smoke. People looked at me the way you look at a mirage, unsure if they were seeing salvation or insanity. Marcus took a step back from the podium, blinking like the lights had just gotten too bright. Wait, what's going on? He said, voice cracking. My father stood still, his hand gripping the back of a chair like it might stop the room from spinning. My mother stared, eyes wide, lips parted but frozen. Only Vaughn moved, slowly. Too slowly. He was backing toward the service exit, weaving between tables, his right hand still near his waist. Torres noticed. She didn't look at him directly. She didn't have to. Her fingers lifted slightly, and 3 agents peeled off toward the far wall in perfect formation. I took one breath, then another. Then I said loud and clear, "Target is Vaughn, suspected of treason, espionage, and attempted compromise of active federal operations. Do not let him leave this building." The room erupted, not with screams, just chaos. Chairs scraping, people gasping, cell phones raised like shields. Marcus turned toward me, pale and stunned. "Riley, what the hell are you saying?" But I wasn't looking at him. I was watching Vaughn. He turned, tried to blend, but the agents were faster, tactical, fluid, like water closing around a stone. He didn't resist, didn't speak. He just smiled at me as they zip-tied his wrists. That same infuriating smile he wore the day I testified against him in a sealed chamber. "You can't live in the dark forever, Riley," he called across the room as they pulled him toward the exit. "They'll never really see you, not who you are, not what you've done." I walked forward, heels echoing with every step on the marble. I stopped just a few feet from him. "They don't have to see," I said quietly. "They just have to be safe." He shrugged, the zip ties creaking. "We both know safety is temporary." "So is your freedom," he laughed deep and low as the agents pulled him through the doors, and just like that, Vaughn was gone. But the damage wasn't. Because when I turned around, I wasn't facing enemies. I was facing family. And they had no idea who the hell I really was. They stared at me like I'd just stepped out of a different life. Because I had. My mother still hadn't moved. Her hands hovered mid-air, as if deciding whether to wring them or fold them over her chest like a shield. My father opened his mouth, then closed it. Marcus looked like someone had unplugged him mid-sentence. Emma was back now, standing just inside the ballroom entrance, eyes locked on mine. Her phone hung limp in one hand. She hadn't recorded it. She didn't have to. The look on her face said everything. It was Torres who saved me from the silence. "We've secured the suspect. Hotel perimeter is locked down. We'll begin debrief in the secondary suite." I nodded. "Have the room cleared. I'll address them first." Torres hesitated, then understood. She gave a short nod and started ushering the guests out with the kind of calm that comes from training, not kindness. One by one, the murmuring politicians, donors, socialites, and reporters funneled out like smoke escaping through a cracked window. When the room was nearly empty, I turned back to the only audience that mattered now: my family. "I know this doesn't make sense," I began, "and I know you have questions, but the short version is this. I never dropped out. I never travelled aimlessly. I never disappeared." Emma stepped forward, voice thin. "That file, the one I got, that was about you?" I nodded. She exhaled like someone had been sitting on her chest. "Operation Vanguard, you were Agent RC." "Yes." Marcus laughed once, sharp and bitter. "You've been a government spook this whole time, while we thought you were on some soul-searching yoga crusade?" I didn't answer. Not right away. Then I reached into my clutch and pulled out the one thing I'd sworn I'd never show them: my badge. Federal Counterterrorism Division. Director. My photo, my name. I set it on the table between us. No more lies, no more shields. "I took an oath to protect this country from threats most people never hear about," I said. "That oath meant I had to protect you by making you believe I was nothing." My father stepped forward. "You mean all these years?" "I've been in danger," I said, "and so have you. You just didn't know it." My mother's voice cracked. "We thought you gave up." I looked at her, really looked, for the first time in years. "I did," I said softly, "but not on me." Emma wiped her cheek. "Why didn't you tell us?" "Because if you'd known, Vaughn would have used you sooner." Marcus folded his arms, expression dark. "So what now? We just pretend our sister's Jason born with better posture?" I almost smiled. Almost. But there was no room for jokes anymore. "Now," I said, "you understand why I've been silent, and why I don't have the luxury to be invisible anymore." No one spoke for a moment, not out of awkwardness, out of grief. grief for a version of me they'd buried before I'd ever left. Then my father stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. He picked up the badge from the table, turned it in his calloused fingers like it was made of glass. I watched the shift in his face, the precise calculation of a man who once organised logistics for naval operations, who never believed in excuses, only performance. He looked up. "I gave you hell for quitting law school," he said, voice rough. "Told your mother you'd thrown away your future." "You weren't wrong," I said quietly. He shook his head. "No, I was blind." Then he walked around the table and did something he hadn't done since I was a child. He hugged me, not a stiff handshake, not a pat on the back. A real, full embrace, tight, unapologetic. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. My mother cried next. Not the silent kind she reserved for polite funerals or tearjerker movies, but the raw, gasping kind, like someone pulling open a wound that had been bandaged too tight for too long. "I said awful things," she choked. "I thought you were weak, lost, but you weren't." Her hands trembled as she touched my face. "You were strong enough to let us think you were nothing, just to protect us." I swallowed hard. "Because all the training in the world can't prepare you for being seen." Emma approached last. She didn't speak, just wrapped her arms around me and buried her face in my shoulder. "I don't care if you saved the world," she whispered. "I'm just glad you're still here." Behind her, Marcus stood still, arms crossed, eyes stormy. "Is it real?" he asked. "All of it?" I nodded. "Every classified bit." He exhaled, then gave me the smallest nod I'd ever seen him give anyone. Respect. Reluctant. Real. It was enough. Angela Torres re-entered then, clearing her throat gently. "Director, we're ready." I looked back at my family, their faces still stunned, but no longer distant. "I have to finish the report," I said. My mother caught my hand. "Then come back home. Not undercover this time." I smiled. "I'll think about it." And for the first time in my life, I meant it. 3 weeks later, I sat across from Deputy Director Collins in a soundproof briefing room beneath Langley. Same sterile lights, same burnt coffee smell, different me. He slid a folder across the table. "Your cover's blown." I nodded. I figured. Vaughn's arrest made national news. Social media's already speculating. The hotel surveillance leaked. Too many pieces. "So," I said, fingers steepled, "what are my options?" He leaned back. 1. Relocation. New name, new background, no contact with your family. You vanish again, permanently. I didn't flinch. And the second? Promotion. Section Chief. Counterterrorism Division, public-facing role, no more field work, no more shadows. I stared at the folder. The idea of walking away from the field used to feel like a prison, like being trapped in the light after spending a life thriving in the dark. But now, I thought of my mother's tears, my father's hug, Emma's voice whispering, "I'm glad you're still here." I thought of the look on my brother's face when he nodded, just once, and finally saw me. I looked up at Collins. "I'll take the promotion." He didn't ask why. He just slid the folder back and stood. "Congratulations, Director Chen." Funny how that name used to feel like a mask. Now it felt like mine. 2 months later, I returned to Asheville, this time not for surveillance, not in disguise. Emma was hosting her engagement party at a local vineyard. I arrived in full dress uniform, medals pinned, posture proud, my face no longer shadowed, but lit by the soft glow of golden hour. The moment I walked in, the conversation didn't stop. It got louder. People clapped. Strangers thanked me for my service. An old teacher I hadn't seen since grade school wiped away tears and told me she always knew I was meant for something more. Emma's fiancé greeted me at the door with a wide grin. "It's an honor to finally meet you, Director Chen. Emma talks about you all the time. Director Chen. Not Riley the dropout, not Riley the failure, but the woman who had saved lives, silenced threats, and sacrificed more than they'd ever know. That night Marcus raised a toast. To my sister, he said, who taught us that the strongest warriors are often the quietest, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let the world finally see you. I didn't cry, but I felt something shift, because for the first time in a very long time, I was exactly where I was meant to be. Later that evening, after the speeches and champagne and polite laughter had faded into the buzz of string lights and soft jazz, I stepped out onto the vineyard's back terrace. The mountains stretched across the horizon, cloaked in summer dusk. It was quiet in that beautiful kind of way, like the world had exhaled. Emma found me there. She leaned on the railing beside me, barefoot now, dress bunched at the knees like we were kids again sneaking out of church. For a long time, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "Do you ever regret it?" "The job?" She nodded. I considered it. "I regret what it cost," I said, "but not what it gave." Emma looked down at her engagement ring, turned it once. "You know, when I was little, I used to think you were magic." I smiled. "Why?" "Because you could make yourself disappear and somehow still be the smartest person in the room." "I didn't disappear," I said softly. "I was just waiting to be seen." She reached into her purse and pulled out something small, a printed photo. It was from the ceremony, me in uniform, surrounded by my family, and smiling. "Frame it," she said, "for your office." I took it, and for the first time I felt no urge to hide it in a drawer. My father joined us a few minutes later, 2 glasses of bourbon in hand. He handed me one, clinked it lightly, and said, "We're moving your track trophies to the top shelf, right next to your tactical team photo." I laughed. It felt good, like an old scar loosening. And when my mother appeared, brushing imaginary dust from my lapel, she didn't say anything. She just looked at me. Not the disappointment, not the dropout, just her daughter. That night, I lay awake in my childhood bed, not the basement couch, not some windowless safe house bunker. My room, still painted in that faded shade of blue I'd once chosen because it reminded me of silence. But it didn't feel empty now. On the desk was the photo, on the nightstand, my badge, and in my chest, peace. Because sometimes the biggest missions aren't about stopping bombs or catching traitors. Sometimes they're about stitching yourself back into the life you once left behind, not to reclaim it, but to rebuild it, brick by brick, truth by truth. One toast, one hug, one whispered "I'm proud of you" at a time. And maybe that's the real victory, not being legendary, but being known,